Hey everybody, looks like we've got about 6 people in here right now. I'm going to be sharing this out with everybody. If you would do the same on any groups that you normally use as comment groups, give us a couple of minutes and see if we can get some more people in here. We are going to start the night off auctioning some of this wonderful artwork you see in front of you. The one where Thanos is saying, "Come and get me." Hello, Christy. Hey, Geeky. Hello, Eric. How are y'all doing? Yeah, I've missed this too, Eric. It's been a couple of weeks since I've gotten to do this. Between the convention and squirrels eating through the cable. So bear with me for a minute. I'm sharing it out. Hey, Facebook user, if you will go ahead and let StreamYard recognize you, your name will pop up for me. Right now, it doesn't. Hello, William. How are you doing? The instructions on how to let StreamYard use your Facebook account is at the very top of my post. Hey, Charles, we're going to start the show off with the art. What you see in front of you right there are the things that we are going to be auctioning off, and we're going to start the show with it. We're up to 17 people now. Well, Geeky, you know, I have to feed the squirrels somehow. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Brian Denham on. Brian is the wonderful artist that did all of these covers for us. Everybody say hi to Brian.
Hello.
Brian, you will be able to, are you able to see the comments?
Yeah, I have the Facebook pulled up over here. I can see the Facebook comments and the Twitch.
Okay. Okay. So you can't see the StreamYard ones.
Oh, yeah, I can see those too.
Okay, the StreamYard actually combines from every Facebook group, Twitch, and YouTube.
Oh, great. I'll turn everything else off so I don't tax my computer or my signal or whatever.
Hey, Cecil, looks like you are good.
Hello, everyone.
So, yeah, Brian, they'll be able to hear your voice, and we're just able to read what they say.
Oh, great. Hello, Geeky Hoodie.
So Brian and I have known each other for a long time.
Oh, my God. It's almost 3 decades.
Yep. Brian was working. Hey, Alexandria. Brian was working for me when we had the. You were working for me with Neil Gaiman and Jim Lee, right?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman was at the Fort Worth store, but I was at the other place.
Yeah, so Yeah, the two biggest signings we ever had at Heroes. So
Yeah, I was sorry to miss that one because he signed that ceiling tile, and he
yeah,
drew on it too, right?
yeah. I don't know if I told you those got wet,
That's
and I
sad.
lost every single one of them. I hate that.
Hmm. Do you have pictures of them still?
Somewhere I do,
That's cool.
along with that picture of you. I think I shared the picture with you at the Jim Lee signing. You were a baby back then.
I know. I saw that recently. I was like, that's crazy. I was wearing acid wash jeans, and
Yep.
everything was super tight. But I
You
was
were
like,
just
oh,
out of the Marines at that point, weren't you?
yeah, maybe 2 years. But geez, I don't even think it was that long.
So what we're going to do, we have 6 covers here. I'm going to show them closer here in a minute when we get started, and then we're going to start bidding on them. This is going to be an auction. The auction will start at $100. So the first one to win, and it's when the highest bid gets, going once, going twice, going 3 times, you will get to choose the cover that you want out of these 6. So just a second, let me get a couple of other things ready to go.
How do I respond to people in the comments? Do I just audibly speak or write them private or?
Oh no, you can actually type in if you type in the StreamYard comic or the StreamYard line, it'll go out everywhere so that they can see
Oh,
it.
okay. Okay, great. I'm not ignoring the people in the chats, but I'm just trying to figure out where to write them.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for the nice comments, everyone, about the artwork. I appreciate it. I will use my my Cerebro helmet to talk to your audience. To me, my X-Men. So I started working for you, Ron, back in like 92, maybe.
Yeah, until Rob Liefeld stole you away.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I was working on artwork and my portfolio and all that stuff. And then the Jim Lee Killer Instinct tour came through, and he stopped at the store, and we worked all day and night. And, I think it was about around 11 o'clock he finished signing. And I was waiting, like, y'all snuck me behind him so I could talk to him after he signed the last one. And you were like, hey, he just wants to show you some artwork, I was like, Jim had been signing, oh my God, for 4 or 5 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And that line was so huge. It was out the door, out down the block, it was crazy. And but he looked at my artwork and flipped through it all, and he's like, it's good. You need some more work. He's like, within 6 months you'll be able to work professionally, He's like, if you just keep at it. And I was like, okay. And I started working on everything he told me to work on. And then I met Rob Liefeld 6 months later, and he hired me, at Comic-Con. I flew out to Comic-Con with Larry Langford, bless his soul, who used to run the Dallas Fantasy Fair. And he's like, I'm going to fly you out to Comic-Con on my, Southwest Friend Fly Free program or whatever. So he flew me out to San Diego Con and was introducing me to people. And but Rob Liefeld had met me a week earlier at the Dallas Fantasy Fair, and he Dan Frigga had come over to my booth where I was selling my comic book. My Name is Mud, and he's like, I love your stuff. Let me introduce you to Rob. I was like, what? No way. So he took me over to Rob, and Rob had just finished this huge signing too, and at the Dallas Fantasy Fair. And so I started talking to Rob, and he's like, I love this, I love this, I love this. It's so great. And that was it. And I was a little sad because he had just hired Todd Knock, a couple months earlier, maybe. And I was like, he didn't hire me right on the spot. I was so sad. But so the following week, I was at Comic-Con in San Diego, and I'd run into Rob. And so I talked to Dan Fraga, and Dan was like, hey, you can sit at my table at Comic-Con in the Artist Alley area and just sit there and make money selling pictures or whatever, And so I was doing that, and then Rob had a minute to see me later, so I went and saw him, and Dan had taken me over there, and he hired me on the spot. And he's like, oh, you're that mud guy, like from Dallas, right? Because Rob has like a photographic memory, And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you want a job? I was like, oh, hell yeah, But I was trying to play it cool, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, show up in Orange County at my office, on Monday. And I had like $20 to my name, and it was in my pocket, right? And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? So I went back to my table, and Matt Hawkins, he was like, we'll do this for you, we'll do this, just get there. And Matt Hawkins had arranged that I could stay with Todd Knock and all this stuff. So I think one of the guys, with my $20, I bought my ticket on the train up to Orange County, and Todd Knock drove me home, and I stayed with Todd for a week. And Todd's like, I think it was like 10 days. He's like, you have 10 days to earn enough money to get your own place and get out of my apartment, in the nicest way possible. Because it was like, you're not going to sit on your ass, you're going to work, And so I stayed with Todd for 10 days, and, we drove there earlier than Rob. We got there before Rob and went home after Rob. And that was my first 10 days. I did like 20 pages of work, That was crazy.
And that was for?
That was like my very first pinup was I did it on the first or second day. I was Bad Rock, and Rob liked it so much because he was supposed to do a picture of Bad Rock for Youngblood Battlezone #2, which they were about to send to the printer like that week. And he's like, put Denham's in there, So Rob didn't draw it. He's like, let me take his spot. Like of his main character, which was crazy. So they inked it and colored it, and did the color on the markers back then, and then they took that to the computer colors, and they replicated what the marker artist colored. And so they colored it, sent it to the printer, and it was on the stands within 10 days. It was so fast, and I was like, I just started working I just sat down. Started working in comics, and like the following Wednesday, my first book was out. My first book I showed Rob Liefeld was My Name is Mud, and I printed maybe 3,000. I think I distributed maybe 1,000 to Diamond, and the rest I kept in my dad's garage until I left Extreme Studios and went home. And he's like, "All your books are filling up my garage. I got no place for my cars." And he's a race car driver and stuff. So I recycled all the extra 2,000 copies of My Name is Mud. So if you have one of them, it's pretty rare, But,
so you don't have any more of those?
I think I have one, and I maybe because somebody gave it to me a couple years ago at one of the shows I was doing, And I have. So the first year I was at Extreme, they put me in the Extreme Tour book, and the first week I was at Extreme Studios, everybody, it was like a huge amount of people went to like a cowboy bar in Orange County because all the girls liked all the Western music stuff, and the guys just followed the girls, I guess. But so everybody was dancing and everything, and they made custom Stetsons or whatever right there at the cowboy hats at the bar, and I got just 20 pinups in the first week. I mean, it was a lot of money. So I was like, I'm going to buy me a cowboy hat, And so it made me a cowboy hat. And one of the girls that worked at the main image offices, she's like, "Oh my God, where'd you get that hat?" And I was like, "Oh, they make it right over there, She's like, I would love that. And I was like, well, let's go buy you one, you know. And so I'm from Texas. I'm going to celebrate. And so they made her a custom hat. And she was real sweet. And she invited me to lunch like the next week, you know. She's like, I want to pay you back for your hat. And I was like, it's okay. It's just a hat. And so she's like, okay. So she went back to the Image offices, which were next to the Extreme offices. And like some of the guys at Extreme are like, why did you turn her down? She wanted to take you to lunch. And I was like, it's just a hat, you know. I don't want to obligate her to a meal, you know. It's just a hat for fun. But they're like, dude, she's like Los Angeles. Oh man, what was it? She was a Lakers cheerleader or something. they're like, what are you, crazy? You know. But she was just a nice person. So it's kind of funny. We had a lot of great times. Like every week was like I got so fat like in the first year I was there, because every week was TGI Fridays for lunch, for dinner, every Friday night, you know. And then Rob would take us out to dinner, and everybody like 20 to 30 people lined up at all the TGI Friday tables, you know. And he was like hosting this huge banquet, and he'd walk around and eat like something off of everybody's plate. He's like, what's that taste like? What's that taste like? What's that taste like? But he wouldn't order his own food. He's like, I don't want to get fat. So he was just sampling everybody's, you know, which I should have done that, because oh my God, I gained so much weight. It's like the pictures where I was doing the My Name is Mud Dallas convention. I was stick thin. I was like bone thin, right? Like I hadn't eaten in a while. And then a year later, I was just like fat. Like I went into Danny Mickey's office, you know, inker at Extreme Studios, famous inker now, right? Like a year later, and he's like, God dang, you got fat. I was like, what? So I couldn't even see it myself, but every day it was just fried meals, you know. But it was fun.
Good old days.
Yeah. I'm just warming you up with all these stories.
Yep. Well, you guys ready to start bidding on some comics? Let me show you each one up close. We're going to start off with Bounty Hunters. Brian put an incredible amount of detail in this book right here, with everybody's favorite Baby Yoda child. Then we have the Batman Who Laughs.
This one's interesting because I did some highlights with a silver Sharpie. So if you turn it like slightly to either side, it'll pick up the lighting and shine through.
And then the bat symbol and the shadow and Gotham on his dome there.
My John Byrne homage.
This is the book that gets the most likes on Instagram. And then you started experimenting with some color. Let's go over here. Now, man, this brought back so many memories of one of my favorite John Byrne runs on Fantastic Four.
Oh my God, I love that story so much. And then the reveal when it was like, when you know who it is. I don't want to ruin it for the kids, right? But it's like, oh my God, that was like an epic two-parter.
Then Thaddeus, Thunderbolt Ross.
I did the colors as an homage to Stelfreeze, because I think he's amazing.
Yeah. And then finally, Poison Ivy, who's about to play a big part in the upcoming Batman story.
Oh, wow. I like the colors on that one because I did a yellow like highlighter for the background, and I think it pops really amazing.
So are these all Copics?
No, I don't have Copics right now. I went through. So depending on the quality texture of the paper, I use different markers. And let me find some of the markers. So some of them are like just a set from like I don't even know what these are, Fiber Color or something. It's just like a generic set at like the art store. But they worked great on some of the paper. And here's my Walking Dead cup. Some of the other ones I used the Faber-Castells. I don't know if you see these, but these are really great. And I use these when I do hats, and I'll show you a hat in a minute, probably. But some other pens I used were these, which I absolutely hate, but sometimes they work great, you know. And then some Prisma markers. These I only hate because the caps, like my hands, I think I got arthritis or something. It's too hard to pull the caps of them off, but they're really good pens. It's just inside baseball.
Yeah.
I use these markers again. I guess you get from Walgreens or something. They're like poster pens for like poster boards and stuff. But sometimes these can really make something pop because they're so bright.
So you don't need no fancy Copics. You do it all with regular stuff.
Yeah, I go for the cheap. You know, I love these. These are Posca, I believe is the name. But I've been doing a lot of stuff with these lately. They're like acrylic, so they go on top of everything. So if I color something with everything else, I added some blood onto another Wolverine picture I did. Because they go over everything. They go over Sharpie markers, all the colors already there. You know, they sit on top of it and then they dry quickly. So. But when I do hats, you know, I always do the trucker caps. They're amazing for that. And I also started inking with one of those Poscas, with the black Posca. Holy crap! That was an experiment, I think, on the Wolverine one because I think the paper was different. And I was like, oh crap, it can handle one of these Posca markers. So I inked that whole Wolverine thing with those Posca acrylic pens, you know. Like
Which one is that?
The Wolverine.
Which one?
The John Byrne looking Wolverine thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then I believe like I would go over some stuff just to like outline or something to pop it out more with that same black pen. And if you're interested, like when I do, I did a bunch of white moisture kind of on the leaves on the poison ivy.
Yeah.
I did that with these like a jelly roll or whatever.
Oh, cool.
I got a bunch of white ones just in case, you know. Sometimes they don't work right or whatever. You have to like these paint ones I did for another Wolverine picture.
Yep.
But just a little bit of everything. And I think another reason I don't use the Copic is because everybody uses the Copic. And when I use the marker, the Copic doesn't, like, it smears sometimes.
Yeah.
So you almost have to do the Copic first and then ink on top of the Copic so that it doesn't smear, or use the right pen with the Copic.
I tell you what, the one that I'm impressed with, which we will be auctioning off on another day, not tonight, but
Tease.
The Naked Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
That one is gorgeous. The blue on that is just absolutely gorgeous.
That's, you know, that's a little bit like the old school, like liquid coloring in the 90s. They always did like the blues to the purples. And I mean, Liquid started out at Extreme Studios with me, and there were two different colors, and they formed the Liquid, and then they colored like all the Joe Mad stuff in the 90s.
Oh, cool.
But, yeah, so I learned what they were doing. So I try to, you know, I make that blue and that purple pop like all that old Liquid stuff.
Yeah, and the blood on it is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that was done with that. Yeah, it was just right on top of everything, so it's really cool.
Okay, guys. Well, we're going to start off at $100. So who's going to be the first bidder at $100? So what happens is we're bidding, and the winning bidder gets to choose which of these 6 covers they want. So Charles is starting it off at $100. It will be going at, let's do $5 increments, so we're not $1-ing it all night long. So Charles has the first choice at $100 so far. Anybody else want to come in at 105? 105. Facebook user that just did 100, let me know who you are so I can call you by name. StreamYard is not recognizing you on Facebook, so. Okay, Billy Gibson. Billy Gibson. You and Charles are both at 100, so Charles has the first one at 100. So the next bid would have to be 105. So Billy has 110. Billy has 110. We're at 110 right now, Josh. 110. And we'll be doing the regular sale after the auction. So if you're hanging around for that, we are still doing that. The show tonight is being powered by a nice rye whiskey, Whistle Pig, Piggyback Rye.
Did you start that bottle tonight or during the election?
So 115 from Charles Harrell.
I did an auction in at a Dallas Fantasy Fair when I was like in high school maybe. I went in and I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna raise my hand for something, right? And it was a Bern Hogarth painting, like a print of the bullfighter, and it was an artist proof. And I was like, yeah, I want that, But I won. I was like, oh my god. When I'd never done anything like that. I was maybe in 10th grade or something, but I got to meet Bern Hogarth and he signed it and everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Bern Hogarth did art classes at one of the Dallas Fantasy Fairs. So like on Sunday, like for an hour or two, he just taught a class. Like you had to pay a little bit of money to go watch it or something. But that was really cool. Like I got front row seat. I was like 10 feet from, like not even that. I was like, I could touch Bern Hogarth. I was so excited. The Dallas area had a lot of cool people come through, over the years.
Yeah, they did. I tell you what, Josh, the auction is for your choice. So highest bid gets to choose the book that you want. Yeah, Larry would bring so many people in. I remember when we sponsored the Harvey Awards. I get to dress up in a tux and have dinner with, Jack and Roz Kirby or whoever, Will Eisner.
Yeah, that was really cool. I got to give an award out at, one year before I got in, I was sitting with Larry for the Harveys. And then the next year I got to present because I was like the youngest person in comics and they had the oldest person in comics there or something, or at least at that con. And Jim, do you want me to tell this story? It's so crazy. But Jim Steranko was the, not the main host, because that was like, there was Jim Steranko and Frank Miller. So Jim Steranko gave like an opening speech and all this stuff. But I was at Larry Langford's table, who put on the Dallas Fantasy Fair. And this speech was going forever, And we were like, well, the show's supposed to start, the presentation's supposed to start at one time, and it hasn't started. And it kept going and going and going, just the opening speech,
Well, Jim, Stranko.
Yeah. And, but he was talking about, spay and neuter your pets and, all this stuff. And he told a story about this 3-legged dog. And it just kept going and going. And, me and Larry and people in the back, we would start laughing because we thought it was a joke and nobody was in on it. And then it's like, oh, it's not a joke. He's really serious. But then it kept going and we're like, is it a joke? And we kept laughing. It's like, oh my God, this is really serious. It was like 2-hour opening speech, And then so the award started, but everybody was exhausted from Jim's speech. So, it was like, get up, get an award, get down. And it was over and over through the rest of the night. It was just so tiring of a show. And so I was like, Larry, I got a joke. Can I tell a joke like when I get up to give my award? And he's like, absolutely. Like it needs something, right? So Jim Steranko introduced me to get up there and give a award for a best presentation of a trade paperback or something, which went to Chris Ware. And of course. So I went up there and Jim Steranko gave me the mic and he sat down front row. And I said, Jim, I saw that 3-legged dog you were talking about. That 3-legged dog walked into town and said, I'm looking for the man who shot my paw. Oh my God, everybody started to laugh. That was like the only laughter all night long. And he was glaring at me with daggers, because he was so pissed. So I gave the award to Chris Ware, who wasn't there, and I had to accept it for him. And then I started walking back to my table, and Jim jumped on the stage, and grabbed that microphone. And he was like, is that what they teach you guys at Image or something? And I said, well, they teach us how to tell a joke. And I just kept walking. Everybody was laughing. He was mad. And I thought I was going to get in trouble because, I went up to, there were other Image guys, like Jim Valentino was there. And I went up to him and he just walked away from me, shaking his head. He's like, did not want to have any part to do with me or whatever. But the next day, I got a note from Kurt Busick, and he said that he told Larry that I should do the Harvey Awards the following year. But I guess that was part of Image, being the young upstarts. It's crazy.
Being the young rebel.
Yeah.
So Josh had it at 120, but Charles came in at 125. So again, guys, you're bidding on the cover of your choice out of these 6 covers. If anybody wants to see one of the covers closer, just let me know. And Josh wants 130. I think Josh is wanting that cover pretty badly.
No, man, we should bet on which cover is going to go first.
That's going to be our side hustle. We're going to take that fun.
Yeah, there we go. The best part is the lowest bidded cover is still a badass cover.
Yeah,
I do say so myself.
Charles comes back in at 135. The fun part about me is knowing the customers and trying to figure out which one each of them wants. Nobody give it away though.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a judge for you. Like, do you know your customers enough to know which cover they're going to? It's like those old coffee commercials. Do you know which is your coffee? Is your husband's favorite coffee brand? Like, my husband doesn't drink that brand.
So are you still reading anything right now, Brian?
I read so much as an editor in chief of Antarctic Press. I read like about 14 books a month, but that's all I can do. Yeah, that's all I can do to keep up with our stuff, because I have to read it and then reread it and then reread it to make sure there's no more typos or
So are you editing the new Ninja High School book?
No, that's being handled by the Ben and his Dallas crew.
Okay.
Since Ben Dunn is the founder of Antarctic Press, he's in Dallas. He has a team up there that help him.
The guy doing the art for that, Terry Parr.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he works for me now.
Oh wow. I love him. He's so great. I've known him for years, but I haven't talked to him a lot, just because when I used to do the shows, I was like, nobody wants to talk to me, Yeah, and I really missed out on meeting a lot of the Dallas team, and I just assumed I'd just go to a show and go home, but I didn't realize what a networking opportunity it was to meet so many amazing people. I didn't really realize that until I took over as editor in chief, that what a big part of the job that is just knowing
people. Yeah,
knowing people, and sometimes they'll know somebody that wants to do a book or whatever, and it's like, oh wow. Well, I mean, it's not just knowing people to benefit our studio, it's just knowing people to just talk comics. We all love it so much.
Yep.
I mean, you have to love it to work in this business.
Yeah, like I tell everybody, we don't do this business because we want to get rich. We do it because we love it.
Yeah. I always tell people, it's like, they ask, what are you reading right now? It's like, I work in comics. I can't afford them,
We're going to have to get you on some comp lists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we should probably exchange comp. I should just send you everything we're doing every month.
So
like,
first call for 150 on going once for Josh. It's kind of hard figuring out the timing on this because of the lag. So you want to give enough time.
Yeah, it's like it's like, I just put in a bid.
Okay, well, Charles threw in the towel. So, Josh, which cover are you wanting? I'm thinking it's either the Wolverine or the Bounty Hunters.
I'm thinking it's Poison Ivy or Batman. Although the Fantastic Four is my third option. I took half the books.
So Josh has one of these at 150. All he has to do is let me know which one. You can't have all of them.
Oh man, he used the Thanos option. Reality right there. It's inevitable. This is more suspenseful than the auction.
All right, it's the Bounty Hunter.
Look at you. You picked it.
Awesome.
I have to drink something because I didn't get it right.
And we're going to add one to it. for any Galactus fans out there.
Oh, Nova's giving him the Earth.
And we'll auction one more auction tonight. So bidding starts back over at $100. So Charles, you want to start us off at 100, or is the Bounty Hunters the one that you wanted? Cecil says he's galactose intolerant. I like that. Hey, Philip, how's it going? So we've got Charles at $100. Philip and Billy both came in at 100, but we have to do $5 increments. So somebody needs to come in at 105. Right now, Charles has it at 100.
And there's a time when I would go to conventions. I just started drawing that like chibi characters, and this maybe 10 years ago. And every time I would do a show, more and more people were asking for chibi drawings, But, they're so fun to do. It's like you get right to the heart of that character in a chibi drawing,
Oh, yeah.
Like I did one of Daredevil walking. Oh my God, it's one of my favorites, But somebody came up and was like, "Do Daredevil," and I was like, So I did Daredevil walking across the street with an old lady, like he was escorting an old lady across the street with his blind cane,
Yeah, Scotty Young has made a whole industry on this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I started on DeviantArt like in 2003, and Scotty Young was like the first person who followed me, and I guess this was really before his career like took off or maybe even started, but I really appreciated of him,
I saw some covers at the little show this weekend that I'd never seen before from Scotty. I wish there was some kind of, he doesn't even know how many covers he's done or what he's done.
They need to do a collection, maybe IDW, because I don't know if he's done any for DC, but it'd be great just to have all of them in one big book.
Yeah, Marvel did a book of a lot of them, but even going through the Marvel book, I'm able to remember several that he didn't, or that he did that weren't in that book.
Yeah, and he probably did some after that book was published, It's like,
yeah, well, yeah.
I was at a Houston show, and he was right behind me doing them all weekend, but he had a very specific paper texture that he used, So, like he wasn't drawing sketchbooks or anything like that. He had to have this exact paper.
Huh.
So, so when people were bringing sketchbook, he's like, "I'm not going to do it in the sketchbook. I'll do it on this piece of paper. And you can put it in the sketchbook, but I'm not going to do it on that sketchbook paper." Oh my God, man, I don't know if I could find it quick enough for this story, but I had one of those sketchbooks, because I kept going to all these shows, and I was like, man, I really need a sketchbook too, because I used to. I've been drawing in sketchbooks my entire career, and Kerry Gamble, who I learned from. He used to do them like in the 80s. So people have been doing those sketchbooks for years, right? And one show, I was like, I'm going to start a sketchbook. So I bought one of the blank sketchbooks and I took it to a show. And I'm still looking for it. I should just give up, right? But I was like, I'm going to start a sketchbook. And I said, what can I don't want to bother artists, because I have to get back to my table and they have to get back to their people. So what can they do quickly? And I was like, well, everybody could just do a hand tracing, right? And so I started the sketchbook, and I called it the, like basically like the handbook, like the handbook of the Marvel Universe,
Uh-huh.
And I saved the very first page for Joe Rubenstein, or Stein. I'm sorry if I don't, say it correctly, but Joe Rubenstein used to ink, like he has like what record for inking the most people in comics, because he started out as a teenager and inking John Byrne on Captain America and all this stuff. So I saved the first page in there, but I got like, man, the top guys in the business for a couple of years. Like, this book is unbelievable how many amazing people I got in it. And I met Joe Rubenstein later, and I had him do the very first page. So this book was almost full, and the last conventions I took it to, I had a friend take it and get Leonard Nimoy to do a hand tracing.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and he was laughing at it, but my friend Kelly, she got him to do it, and he was laughing at it. But then after he did it, he started selling hand tracings on T-shirts. Like, he would trace his hand on a T-shirt, right, and and then sign LLAP, live long and prosper.
Yeah.
But I was like, that was cool. Like, he got the idea from doing it in my book, So I have a hand tracing from him and Stan Lee and Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew. So the very back pages are the back of the book is Leonard Nimoy, and the second to last page is Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew, and his hand takes over the entire page, the 8.5 by 11. It's crazy. But yeah, it's so sad looking back through it. It's like all the people that have died since I got this book done, And oh man, I didn't realize I'd get so sad just telling that story. But it's like Stan Lee, Spock, Chewbacca, Gene Colan, I think, did one. Herb Trimp did one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Or Herb Trimpy. And some of them actually, they did the tracing, but then they drew inside of it,
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I got Scott Campbell and, oh my God, tons of folks. Leonard, oh my God, Rob Liefeld did one at a show in Houston, and he brought it back to me, and he goes, I thought for sure you would have asked for my foot, like me to trace my foot instead of my hand. And I was like, Rob, I was going to ask you to trace your foot, but I didn't know if you'd want to do it. And I should have, because Rob, he doesn't wear shoes. He wears like flip flops to conventions and stuff, so it wouldn't have been nothing for him to take his foot off, And I got Mark Brooks to do it at his home. He was very, he brought me to his home one time, and but he had just cut his hand on, like, with a knife, like almost cut the whole tip of his finger off, But he did the hand tracing, and it was bleeding through to the paper.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then it turned black. So it's like I took a photo of it while it was still red. So it was only red for like a couple of minutes before it turned black, But that's crazy. We're up to 125.
So we're going to call it. We're going to go 125 once for Charles. We're going to do 125 twice for Charles. So Charles, be thinking about the book you want. Don't hold us in suspense.
Oh my gosh.
And 125 3 times for Charles. Charles, you are the winner. So which book would you like? So Brian, you remember this book?
Oh my God. Is it? Oh wow. That is my very first pro work of a comic. Not just a pinup, but a whole story.
Yeah, I always tell people that you were the one that his very first pro work, you got to draw a story for Alan Moore. And after that, it was just, what else can you do in this industry?
No, that's why my career just stalled after that. I'm done. I've done everything I wanted to do. I actually got Alan Moore hired for that book too.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Rob Liefeld came through the studio one day and was looking at everybody's artwork, and he stopped behind mine and he's like, "You suck at drawing women. You will never draw a book with a woman in it because you are horrible at it." I was like, "I'm trying. I've never drawn women really. As a teenager, I didn't feel it was appropriate, and then as I got older, I just I didn't draw. I draw muscle guys or monsters or whatever or Marine Corps stuff, And so when I started at Extreme Studios, I hadn't really drawn women, and which I guess everybody at Extreme Studios hadn't had much experience drawing women. But he was like, "You'll never, ever, ever draw a woman in it, and nobody will ever hire you to do that." So he's like, "But you draw great monsters, so at least you got that, But a few months had passed, and Todd McFarlane came into the studio one day with prototypes for the Violator toy and the Bad Rock toy, and he was letting Rob play with them. And Rob, boom, came up with the idea, Violator versus Bad Rock, And he ran back in the studio and goes, "Denim, I got the perfect book for you, He's like, "You can draw a book with Violator fighting Bad Rock and no girls, And he's like, "Who do you want to write it?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, pick anybody. Who do you want to write it?" And he thought I was going to pick somebody in the office. So I started looking around. I mean, he started looking around too, like, which one of these guys you going to get to write? I was like, "Well, Alan Moore." And he goes, "What? There's no effing way we can get Alan Moore. Are you crazy?" And I looked at him so dead serious, and I was like, "You're Rob Liefeld. You can do anything." And he's like, "Okay," he's like, "You're on." And he walked back, started putting phone calls together and all this stuff. And then with a couple of days, he came back in the office. He's like, "Guess who's writing your book?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Alan Moore's going to write your book." My heart, I was just jumping out of my chest. I could not believe it. He's like, "Do you want to talk to him on the phone?" I was like, "What? No way do I want to, what the hell am I going to talk to Alan Moore about? Like, he's way up here with the smarts and I'm like way down here with the dumbs, And I was like, there's no way I'm going to talk to Alan Moore on the telephone, which I really should have because everybody said he was pretty easy to talk to. But I said no, but my editor, took over the phone and went into the other room and talked to him and all that stuff. And then I think Morant Michaels talked to him as well. But that was it. And then I guess a month later, he said he would absolutely love to do that book because he needed beer money. That's the story. And so that's how I got him hired for my first book. He needed beer money. And then after that, he would send a script, like a full script. It wasn't like a Watchmen script. It was just pretty, it was like a regular script, But he also sent layouts, like he faxed over layouts. So somebody in the fax machine was always like, "Holy crap, like Alan Moore pages are getting faxed to it." So he drew every page in the book on a fax and sent it in. And so I could coordinate with the script, like what he wanted. And I guess I was so full of bravado or whatever, I asked my editor, I was like, "Can I change some of these shots or whatever?" And Jesus, I wish I would have drew it just like he indicated, But my editor, Eric Stevenson, who's in charge of Image now, he said, as long as you draw every single thing that's in the layout and in the script per panel, you can change the angles or whatever you want to do. So then I started doing that. But I had all those faxes for a few years, but they all faded, So the sheets were just white, like pure white, because you couldn't see the image on them anymore. But I sure wish I photocopied them or something. I hope he has copies of it still, because it'd be amazing one day to see the actual pages. Hello, Mark Walters. He's in here telling old stories before they're forgotten and gone forever. But yeah, so that's how Alan Moore wrote my first book, and that's how I'm listed in the top 10 worst Alan Moore stories of all time. Although I'm not the first or not the 10th, so I'm not sure how the ranking goes. But I'm not the worst of either one. But that did let Alan Moore start working with Rob Liefeld, and then after that story was over, he wrote Rob back, and he's like, "What else can I do for you?" And then that led to Supreme and all those other books, and then that led to, him moving over to Wildstorm to do those stories over there. So who knows, if Alan Moore didn't need drinking money, he may never have done Promethea. Thank you, Mark Walters, saying you love that FF cover. So nice of you. Oh, let me take off my headphones just for a second.
So I guess we've lost Charles. Charles hasn't answered back on.
No, I don't have much of my original artwork anymore because I either sold it before 2000, or I destroyed it really because I hated it so bad. But I worked at Antarctic Press down here in '98, so a couple of years after I left Extreme. But one of my buddies, I gave a page of Violator Badrock artwork to. And he still had it, and I borrowed it recently so I could just look at it, because I don't have any of this left. I have that original page I did, which was the first thing I had published. But I was just looking at this today. I was like, man, I gave him regular people feet instead of Rob Liefeld Badrock feet, which were giant circles. I think it's cool the guy had it on his wall so long.
Charles wants the Batman Who Laughs. Awesome, Charles.
Excellent choice. Thank you very much.
You'd cut out there so that you were just showing up as Facebook user, and I thought somebody else was trying to horn in on your winnings. And I wasn't even acknowledging them. Yeah, Charles, there is a lot of places to see the video. So do y'all want to do one more auction on some art, or do you want to get on to some regular books now? And Brian, are you okay to keep on joining us for a while if we go on to regular books?
Absolutely. I may buy something.
Yeah, the silver highlights are absolutely gorgeous. Oh, Charles wants. Charles is ready to go again.
he's like, get started before everybody else jumps in there. Mark Walters had just signed in, so he may have missed my Jim Steranko story, but he lived through it. So.
So we're going to do some other books. I just wanted to put another one of these awesome covers that Brian sent to show y'all. This is the one that I was talking about earlier. The colors on this one just absolutely pop. So we'll be doing this. Brian has sent me enough covers that I can do this for a couple of weeks. And then we'll keep on doing it as long as y'all are willing to keep on buying it.
Boy, what a cool career I would have had if all those were all legitimate covers, you know.
Yeah. So did you get to see the book that Carrie Gamble came out with this week?
Was that the Bella Lugosi book?
Bella Lugosi, yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Man, it is gorgeous. I think all he really did is the just the likeness of Bela Lugosi in every panel that he's in. So I think that's what Carrie drew, and then somebody else drew everything else. But it was like the Bela Lugosi's family would only trust Carrie to do his likeness.
Yeah. It's really cool. What an honor.
So we're going to go on to some normal books for a little bit. If y'all want to look at the original art again, we can do that. Just let me know. We're going to start off with a couple of first appearances. We've got Omega Men, number 3. And Brian, you can chime in with the books that you like and any memories you have on the books. Blackest Night, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Of course, Omega Men number 3 is the first appearance of Lobo, who looks so much cooler now. Next up, we have Uncanny X-Men 158. Uncanny X-Men 158. That was Paul Smith art.
Hang on. I'm sorry. Okay.
Ghost Rider number 39.
We have Uncanny X-Men 158.
Jesus. Okay.
We've got Ultimate Spider-Man number 6. How many times has this cover been done with just a close-up of Spider-Man's face and a reflection in his eye?
That's called a spider.
What is it?
It's a spider.
Strange Academy number 2, second printing. I just love the emblem on that one.
Yeah, that's such a great idea for a book, Strange Academy.
Man, that has Disney animated series written all over it.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
We have Indiana Jones, number 25. We have John Byrne's Wonder Woman number 106.
Which came out when I was still at Extreme Studios.
And we have Superboy 246, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. So was there still a feud between Image and John Byrne when you were there?
I don't know that there was a feud. It's just we were kind of hated by the industry, you know. Like we would have died if John Byrne was like, "Hey, you crazy kids, I'll draw something for you," you know. But I mean, we all had much respect for him, and even the Wonder Woman we had, you know, because sometimes we'd get copies from DC or Marvel while we were still at Extreme Studios of their upcoming releases. So they sent us black and whites of Wonder Woman before, like the John Byrne Wonder Woman story before it came out, you know.
Yeah.
We were all just like, drooling over it. It was so great. But, you know, we were also getting like the Mike Deodato Wonder Woman. Like basically, we were getting the Mike Deodato Wonder Woman because one of the guys in our, one of the interns really loved all of Mike Deodato stuff. And he told Rob, you should really hire this guy to draw something here. So then Rob went and hired off Mike Deodato. But then because of the Mike Deodato gap, they hired John Byrne to do Wonder Woman, you know.
So what did Mike Deodato do for Image?
He did Glory, and then I believe some Prophet thing, or there was a big crossover then. I think he drew some of that. You know, it's kind of interesting. When we were doing Glory, or Rob was doing Glory, there's a big rumor that DC was going to make Wonder Woman like a lesbian or something, you know. And but Rob also had thought of that for Glory, and basically it was a rush to see who could make, you know, Wonder Woman or Glory a lesbian first, you know. And this was like '94, which there wasn't a big push for doing any kind of story like that, you know. But everybody thought it'd be interesting for, you know, both of those legendary characters, you know. Wonder Woman's a legendary character, but
Right.
Glory was on its way, right? But but I don't think either story actually had it. I believe Glory was, but I don't know that they ever did it with Wonder Woman. Although it, you know, we heard through the rumor mill that was an option that DC was pursuing.
They never made it canon. They hinted at it heavily, you know, several times, but
Yeah, you know, a couple of years later,
was there. Of course, they made Wonder Woman and Superman a couple. So,
well, a couple of years later, I got to do two things for DC, which was a Superman story in a annual where Superman, like, he went to visit Wonder Woman on this flying castle thing, and it would create whatever you were thinking of, you know. So it, as he was walking around with Wonder Woman, it created a giant statue of Wonder Woman and Superman, in, you know, embracing and kissing and all this stuff. And so I drew that, but then the powers that be later said it should be Lois Lane or something. And I think it was changed to Lois Lane instead of Wonder Woman, or at least. Oh, and then I think I had to redraw Superman's cape, so there was no nudity bits or whatever, you know, wrapping around both of them. But I was like, at least I got to touch Superman and Wonder Woman in one shot, you know. And then I got hired to do a Wonder Woman annual, and I was told I had 7 weeks to draw, like, oh man, this thing was like 48 pages or something. And I started working on it, and I was just talking to the editor and just, oh, I should be able to send you this many pages by Friday. And she's like, you need to send me like 48 pages by Friday. And I was like, what? I was like, you said my deadline was 7 weeks. She's like, no, it's 7 days. I was like, 48 pages in 7 days? Like, what? But I was like, okay. So my Wonder Woman annual, where she turned, or, you know, the monkey invasion, you know, all the Gorilla Grodd invaded or whatever, that was done in 7 days. And I just had my son at that time. So my son was born. My ex-wife, she was like laid up in the hospital, you know, and her son had gotten chickenpox. So all within a week, I had I had to take care of her, take care of the kid by putting all that chickenpox stuff on, and then take care of the baby and draw an entire Wonder Woman annual, which is crazy. Which, now that Wonder Woman annual reintroduced Nubia into Wonder Woman continuity. So like on the Wikipedia page, I get a co-creator credit for Nubia with an apostrophe.
well, you know that Nubia is going to be the new Wonder Woman in the future state.
I heard that, although she doesn't have the apostrophe, but it's still really exciting.
Yeah, I would expect those commission checks anytime now.
Well, it was funny. You know, that was what, like one of two stories I did for DC, and then I remember like 6 months later or something, they sent a contract. They're like, "Oh, we didn't realize you actually created a character for this story arc, so you're gonna have to sign over all the rights back to us or something." I was like, "Okay, it's no big deal," you know. But then I was like, "No." Then Nubia takes off, and I'm like, "Oh, I should not have signed that deal."
Yep.
Oh, toys. There's going to be action figures, perhaps.
Well, we're going to do last call on these books here. Last call on Indiana Jones, Superboy, Legion of Superheroes, Ghost Rider, Ultimate Spider-Man, Strange Academy, Omega Man #3, and Tales of the Green Lantern Corps.
Can I step away to get some water? I didn't realize how much water you actually need for this.
Okay. Next up, we have Daredevil number 160. This is a Bullseye appearance. If we have any Bullseye fans in here, I do have a first appearance of Bullseye. Black Panther number 8. This is a gorgeous Frank Cho cover of Storm. Edge of Spider-Geddon number 2. Featuring the Robo Spidey and a story by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance fame. We've got Thor number 9. This is the Hildebrandt variant cover. For all of those that remember those glorious Hildebrandt Lord of the Rings calendars that came out, I have almost every single one of those. We have Brave and the Bold.
That was my favorite book as a kid. I just love that title.
Yeah. And you got Batman and a new character every time.
Yeah, that was what was cool.
So we have What If, number 110. What if the Uncanny X-Men saved Professor X, had Phoenix possessed, and had the Fury of Colossus. So 3 different stories in there. We have Star Wars Adventures number 1. This is the kids' version of the Star Wars story featuring Rey. We have Defenders 120. I don't know if anybody's started watching Hellstrom yet on Hulu, but I've been told it's pretty good. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Since we're talking about some of the Image guys tonight, we've got Fantastic Four number 9. This was the Jim Lee, Brandon Choi, Brett Booth reboot of Fantastic Four. You know, I did not put my signs up. Hold on just a second. Just in case somebody's new here. This whole row is $5 each. The top row is always $3 each. And the bottom row is priced as marked. So Geeky wants the Star Wars Adventures and William wants the Defenders. Defenders was another one of my favorite books too, just because it was such a cool team up. There were, characters in there that never really got a chance to have their own book, so you got to read them in the Defenders.
Yeah, I remember buying my first Defenders issue at a bus station in Wichita Falls, Texas, when I was like 5 years old or something. I was like, "What the heck is this book? It's crazy." I think it was like a Scarlet Witch's wedding, or somebody got one of them got married.
Yeah,
like Vision got married, I think, to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, and they had like Gargoyle. I loved Gargoyle as a character, and he was in there for a long time. Valkyrie, Hellstrom, Hellcat.
Yeah, they need to take everybody, like the Gargoyle was cool, Hellcat was cool. Throw in Dragon Man, have a whole monster team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. It was Isaac's. It was what was Gargoyle's name? Was Isaac the first name or the last name?
We're going to have to go to the Wikipedia. I don't want to throw in Etrigan or something.
No. Although, who can't remember Gone Gone Form of Man, Rise Again, Demon Etrigan.
Oh my God, he was great. Did you see the thing about his face was based on a upside down chicken, like or something like that? It was like, I think it was like a duck or a chicken, like how you go when you go to cook them or something, like they're upside down. So that's how like the demon's wings or something, his head or something looks like a.
I could see that. I can see that.
Yeah, that's how I think Kirby based it off this picture he saw of a. Like somebody was wearing it on their face or something. Philip had just asked, what is my favorite character to draw and what is my least favorite character to draw? I believe that Batman is my all-time favorite because I draw him like without even looking. I can draw Batman, and like when I was in the Marines, I used to draw Batman in sketchbooks and stuff. And then for other Marines, they'd come up and ask me to draw Batman. I could whip him out like nothing. And anytime I draw Batman, I'm trying to emulate the Neil Adams. He's amazing, but I can never be as good. Least favorite. Oh my God, I get so many requests for this character, and I know it's everybody. Like a lot of people love this character, but like I hate drawing Gambit. Although I do draw a good Gambit, and like the ladies seem to like it when I draw Gambit because I try to make him as pretty as I can or whatever. But I don't know what it is about Gambit, but I just don't. I was like, oh, Gambit, are you serious? Anybody else like? I know he's a cool character. I just missed that era where he was introduced, so I don't have the passion for him that a lot of other people do. I love drawing the Fantastic Four, and I don't do it enough, but I would like to start working on that more, I draw the Hulk a lot, and I really like drawing the Hulk, but I don't know that I've perfected it yet, but I love trying. One character I probably would love and hate to draw at the same time would be a Jack of Hearts fighting Galactus. When I started that Galactus drawing, I was like, I'm going to draw Galactus fighting Jack of Hearts, which when I worked for Brian Polito at Chaos Comics back in the 90s, he was like, that's the ultimate test for an artist to draw Galactus fighting Jack of Hearts, but I've never tried it.
We joke all the time on this show because Jack of Hearts is one of my favorite characters, but it's like it's got to be a costume. I say that's why they killed him off at Marvel, is because artists just refused to draw him. That costume.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just too hard.
So I want to share something else. When Brian sent me the artwork, this is one of the pieces of cardboard that for some reason he put a tape across, so it peeled off the artwork.
Oh no, I did that at the post office so fast when I mailed it, and I didn't even think about it. Although I saw that cardboard when I was leaving, I was like, why did I throw this in there? Like I should have grabbed something else to hold them all together. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh no, I feel bad because I was trying to peel
the tape carefully.
The tape carefully. I got the bottom piece off, but I couldn't get the top piece off. But God, the detail you put in this stuff is just amazing.
I worked at Top Cow in the early 2000s, and one of the guys there, his name's Nate Van Dyke. You can find him on Instagram or everything, But he's an amazing artist, and he used to draw a lot of stuff on cardboard, like the street art looking stuff on cardboard. And I always thought that was so cool because, we were all like early starving artists at Top Cow, right? And he was doing this street art and making more off the street art than he was on the comic art. He did like a bunch of monkey drawing, like monkeys with guns and stuff like that, or chimpanzees with guns. And they would put him up at one of the art, like a museum kind of thing, or like an art show in LA, and they'd sell his stuff for like just a ton of money. They asked him to do some pieces for this art show in San Francisco, and he flew up there. And one of the pieces, like he would go to a glass shop in Santa Monica, and because they had huge pieces of cardboard, you know, so he'd get these giant pieces of cardboard and start drawing all this street art on top of it. So there'd be like the label of wherever the, you know, the manufacturer, and he'd draw on top of that. And, amazing art. And he went to this art show in San Francisco, and Robin Williams came in and bought one of his pieces. And Robin told him that he was going to hang it above his bed, you know. But it was this huge piece, and it had like he had actually gotten like razor wire and stuck it around the edges, so there was curled razor wire around the edges of this artwork. But apparently, it was hanging in Robin Williams' bedroom.
That's cool.
Yeah, but he bought it for a lot of money, so
That's the part that frustrates me so much about this industry, is because it does not get the same amount of appreciation, the art doesn't, that it does, you know, that the same talent would get in the art world.
yeah. Or you could do like a Banksy, like spray paint on a wall, and that's like, you know, millions of dollars if somebody can take that off that wall. But Geeky Hoodie asked if there's a comic book character that I really relate to, and I drew the Angel comic book a few years ago for IDW, which, you know, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Angel, and I was so in love with that character that I was like, I could have stayed on that book for the rest of my career and been so happy. I don't know what it is about him, and I mean, it's unrelated to the story, but just the idea of him, like, you know, not creeping on teenage girls as a vampire, but just the idea of him like being a, you know, from his own TV show where he was like a detective and, you know, off on his own or whatever. So I think me personally, I relate to Angel and Dr. Fate. I think more than anything, you know. There's a cool story. I think at Smallville or something where they had Dr. Fate, and it was like he had his helmet on, and he was seeing like everything happening, you know, all at once. And I related to that so much. It's almost like you know, like you can't do enough internet searches or something, you know. It's like he just wants all knowledge in his head at one time, you know. And I was like, holy crap, that's me. I just want to absorb everything.
Okay, we're going to put another round up. The first one I put up, taking it out of the bag just so I can kind of show it off for what it is. This is Venom number 27. This was one of the exclusives that a store put out. But Marvel made a mistake and put their cover on top of a 1 in 50 ratio incentive. So wow. This is one of those really sought after variant mistakes.
I always loved getting those as a kid. You get the double covers and stuff.
So we've got that one at $450. We have Old School 1947 Marvel Family number 86.
Now there's a character I love to death, is the whole Captain Marvel family.
Oh man, I bet you could draw an awesome Shazam.
Yeah, I thank you. I loved Shazam since I was a little kid. And you know, Shazam was the first superhero to fly, and Superman ripped off Shazam.
Yep, that's right, and that's why DC sued him.
Right.
Then we have Nova number 1.
I loved Nova so much. You know, I got to draw it for a while, so that was really cool. But as a kid, I went out. I was like in 8th grade, and I went out to my front yard because I thought there was some mathematical thing about the moon or something where I was like, holy crap! At 8 o'clock on this day, if I go outside, I could get hit by a cosmic beam and turn into Nova. So I went outside. I was waiting. My dad came out. He's like, "Get into the house," you know. I was like, "1 more minute. I'll get superpowers in 1 more minute."
We have Spider-Man Deadpool number 4.
Deadpool messes with my when I play Star Trek Online. All the ships come up and they're called Deadpool or whatever. It's like you're messing with my fantasy here.
Yeah,
Like
they
my-
not named Star Trek and Deadpool are not even on the same
Yeah.
moral philosophical equivalent. Yeah.
Right, and then plus it's like, oh, my old boss created that. Like I can't get away.
We have another Wonder Woman by
Brian Boland.
this one's by Parker,
Oh.
but it was written by William Messner Loeb. We have Spider-Man number 21 from the Eric Larson days. Daredevil, Fall from Grace, Chapter 1. Daredevil number 320. Silver Sable. We have another Defenders. We have Defenders number 121.
Hellcat right there.
Hellcat and Hellstrom.
I would love to do a Hellcat book. I was so jealous a few years ago when they did that book. Oh my God, I forgot the artist right now. But Stuart Immonen did it for a couple issues, and then
Yeah.
oh my God, I was loving that.
And then what if Submariner had saved Atlantis from its destiny?
I always love that Submariner story where Human Torch burns off his beard and makes him remember who he was.
So Geeky wants the Daredevil, and William wants Wonder Woman and Defenders. So you got to draw part of the Annihilation Saga, right? Is that the Nova that you drew?
Yeah. I got asked to draw Nova after I did that Iron Man Hypervelocity book because Sean Chin wanted to move over to DC, and they wanted to help him, leave his contract earlier, so he could start some book with Bill Willingham, I think. So I came in to draw some of the like half of each Nova story that he still had left on his contract. But man, I really wanted that book, and so I did a couple of issues of it, and they wanted me to move to some other project, but I wrote the editor a letter, and I was like, Mike Waringo would love to draw Nova, like it's his favorite character and all this stuff. But I wrote him, and Mike Waringo died like that day.
Oh no!
I was like, oh my God, But that would have been really cool to see Mike Waringo Nova a series for a while.
Yeah, he had such kinetic energy on the way that he drew things.
Yeah.
I still think Impulse was probably my favorite of his.
I had another like a favorite artist in the '90s that died was Mike Parabeck from he was drawing the Batman Adventures stuff.
The Batman Adventures, yeah.
Yeah, oh God, I loved his stuff. And when I was at Extreme Studios, like I'd buy it and take it in the studio and get all the artists to talk about how like everything he did was so perfect. The composition, and the amount of detail he put, it was like not too much, not too little. Just so perfect.
And it was great for an animated book too. It was just made for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I was just thinking about it. Another guy I was in love with was Drew Hayes from Poison Elves, and I bought that from like issue 1, at your old store in Hearst, I bought it
right that was back when it was called I, Lucifer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bought that in Bone like on the same day, you know. And I think Youngblood 1 shipped that same week or something. But man, I love that book. And I was telling one of the guys here at the office how much I love Poison Elves and, you know, I Lucifer and whatever. But he actually went to high school with Drew Hayes up in Washington. I was
wow.
I was like, what? Yeah, but they were friends for, I guess, all of high school. But
Yeah, there's too many artists that have left us way too early.
yeah.
You know that Brent with Ape Comics reprinted a bunch of the Drew Hayes books.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. When I started at Antarctic just a few years back, I mean, I've been on and off with them for years, but I was trying to get us to get the rights to Poison L, you know, to reprint that entire thing because I really wanted to draw like new adventures of it.
I can't remember who did it.
What was it?
I still have when we had Drew Hayes at the store, one of the customers from the Hearst store did a sculpt of Lucifer.
Oh wow!
And I still have that.
Awesome.
He made little bust statues of it. So last call for these books. Next up, we have Moon Knight, #2, Vengeance of Moon Knight, #2. This is a cover by Lionel Yu. Moon Knight versus Sentry, which doesn't seem like a very fair fight.
Moon Knight's getting a series soon. You got to get those books while you can.
Yep. We have Department of Truth #1. This is the 1 in 10 variant. If you guys aren't reading this, you really need to be reading it. It is pretty awesome. It's about every conspiracy story that's ever been out there. We have Daredevil #131. This is the first appearance of Bullseye. And a very good define for 100. We have Ultimate Spider-Man #13. We have Fantastic Four #346. After the John Byrne run, this Walt Simonson run is my second favorite run on Fantastic Four. I can't count the Kirby Lee run because, you know, nobody comes close to that. There were so many new characters introduced with them. Star Wars Darth Maul Death Sentence #2. Anybody watching the new season of Mandalorian out there yet?
Oh my God, new episode on Friday.
Yep. I've gotten so spoiled by Netflix that I won't watch them on weekly. I just wait till the whole season is out and then I binge it.
Oh yeah.
Then we have Astonishing X-Men #17. Written by Joss Whedon and drawn by John Cassaday. John Cassaday is another local Fort Worth boy that made it to the majors.
Man, I talked to him one time, and he was telling me all the stories because he grew up in Fort Worth. I kind of grew up in Fort Worth, and I'll let you introduce that book. I'll finish the story.
And then we have Marvel Knights Spider-Man #14. Go ahead with the story.
Yeah, so I was hanging out at Comic-Con, like at the Hilton Hotel. It's like 4 in the morning or something. Everybody should have been home, but I was just, you know, at their back to their hotel. But I was just hanging out, and there was nobody out there, just a couple of people hanging on. And John Cassaday showed up. It's like 3, 4 in the morning. So he sat down. We started talking, and I've known him since, you know, the 80s or whatever. And this was maybe 10, 15 years later, and he was just telling me all this stuff. But when he was a kid, like, you know, he sold his first drawing to Buddy Saunders of Lone Star Comics, you know, and then he started hanging out with Kerry Gamble, when he was a teenager, and they'd go and they met with a bunch of other horror fans, so a bunch of the comic guys that were local to Dallas would get together every weekend or something and watch these old horror movies, and little old Sean Cassidy would show up, and watch them too. And I was just so jealous of all the opportunities he had to mingle with Kerry Gamble, because I loved Kerry Gamble when I was a kid, but the only times I'd ever hang out with him were at the Dallas Fantasy Fair, and like every 6 months he would, I'd hang out with Kerry for a while, and he'd show me new tricks, and then I'd go home and try to practice them. But John actually got like life lessons and art lessons from Kerry Gamble, like as a teenager, so I was super jealous of that. So he was telling me this story at Comic-Con, and I was like mind blown. I was like, what? Like you were like 15 years old hanging out with all these old guys,
Yeah, that
talking horror stuff and storytelling, and
it was
amazing.
Kerry Gamble and Keith Wilson.
Yeah.
Sam, I can't remember Sam's last name, but yeah, and they still do it. They still get together once a week or once every other week, and they have the old 8mm projector, and they have the old 8mm films, like he used to be able to order out of the back of the comics.
Yeah.
and they would watch the horror stuff.
Yeah.
John, when he was a kid, probably 12 or 13, I remember him coming into the store in his Captain America costume and his shield,
Wow. That's awesome.
Carlos, no, that's Lionel.
Francis, you.
Yeah, Lionel Francis Yu. Thank you. Hello, Robert Ramos. How are you doing?
Hello. Hey, there's a couple of questions up there. Philip asks, what is the weirdest thing that has happened to me in this industry? Try to
keep it NC-18.
Yeah. There's a couple of stories. One is I was at a Dallas Fantasy Fair, and Larry Langford wanted to get a picture, like a Reservoir Dog pictures, which I hadn't seen at the time. I've still never seen Reservoir Dogs, but Larry wanted to get a picture of everybody with all the guns and stuff. But I was like just a couple of years out of the Marines, and my job in the Marines was like part of this team called Fast Company and anti-terrorist stuff. So there's a lot of gun training, weapons training. And so I walked into this room at this hotel, and the guys had pulled out guns to start taking pictures, right? And I was like, and my Marine voice just turned on. It's like, put those down, I was like, did you let me clear these weapons? And blah, 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 going through this whole drill. And this one guy was like, oh, yeah, I've cleared all the guns, And I was like, well, nothing's clear until I touch it, So I went up and grabbed this guy's gun, and he was just pointing it at Larry's chest. And I went to clear it, and I just pulled the hand thing back, and a round shot out of the chamber, and I was like, what the hell? So everybody started freaking out that one of the guns had a weapon, a bullet in the chamber. And I mean, all it takes is somebody to just start posing it before they start pulling the triggers on them, But that was crazy. I guess all my stories involve death, because when I was at Extreme Studios, no, listen, we went to dinner all the time. Everybody told stories. If you weren't entertaining, what's the point of you being there, really, And so I went to dinner with two guys at this, just one night. It was like Friday night or something. There's two guys left in the studio. We were hungry. We all went to dinner, or, me and the other two guys. One of the guys we had just hired, his name was Calvin Irving, and he was a Jehovah's Witness and very innocent, hadn't had much life exposure. And but at that time, there was, so sad, but in the news, there was a bunch of like guys at post offices just shooting up the place, right? And now this story is very inappropriate now, but at the time, it was hilarious. But so we went to dinner with the guys, and I was like, oh, I have a whole routine of taking everybody out at the office. I was like, I just made it up on the spot, but I was like, with my tactical training in the Marines or whatever bullcrap, I was like, I'll get there at 8 o'clock. And, before this person shows up at this specific time, and I just made up this whole scenario where I took everybody out as they stepped off the elevator. I could pull their body around. It took 16 seconds to pull their body around this one side before this other person arrives off the elevator. But I just took everybody out at the office. But it was funny to one guy and not funny to the other guy because apparently he took it very seriously. But he went and told Rob Liefeld, which I did not know about at the time. And so Rob was kind of paranoid that this was a true story, that I'd actually thought of all this stuff, and I may have, wanted to act upon it, right? So one night at the office, we had this like 10-story office next to the Anaheim, the Angels baseball stadium, and they were throwing these styrofoam planes off the building, and they just fly down 10 stories, And then one guy would run down and get it and bring it back up, and then the next guy would throw it up, and he would run back down there and get it and bring it up. So Rob came in the office one night, and he's like, "Hey, I want to see those planes." But I was in the copy room, so he didn't see I was there. So him and a couple other guys were like, "Okay, let's go throw the planes off the building." But I went up there after him, and I had hit the door to the ceiling, to the rooftop, like right after Rob. So Rob was like, "Oh crap!" But Brian Denham's like right behind me, So Rob would go up to the edge, it's like, "Holy crap, we're 10 floors up, let's throw this stuff off." But I'd go up next to him and look, and he started getting freaked out. But I just thought it was like he didn't like being around me or something. So like a couple of minutes later, I was just like, I'll just go back down to the office. I don't want to, take away from their fun, Cut to a couple of months later, I went to another convention in Dallas Fantasy Fair with Tony Libido from Image Comics, vice president of Image Comics and stuff. And his wife, our girlfriend at the time, she was the model for Evangeline. And we went and had a fancy dinner after the convention, and over in Deep Ellum. And he started telling me the story that Rob was really afraid of me. He thought I was going to throw him off a building. And he had told the guys at Image, and everybody was freaked out that I was going to go berserk one day at the office or something. I was like, "What?" And he said that, he had heard that story that I'd taken everybody out at the office. And, that guy had told Rob. Rob got real paranoid about it. And they thought I was going to throw that Rob thought I was going to throw him off the rooftop. So I was like, "Oh crap, when I get back to the office, I need to go tell Rob like this, what happened and blah, blah, blah." So the time I chose to tell him was like 10 o'clock at night. Everything was dark in the building. He's on his side of the building in his little tiny office. And, I was in the bullpen. I was like, "Oh, Rob's here. I'll go tell him, he doesn't need to be afraid of me." So I go over there in the middle of the night, and it's all dark, and he's, drawing on the floor in his office. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. "Hey, Rob, can I talk to you for a second?" He's like, and he's like, "Oh, great. Now he's going to drag me up to the rooftop and throw me off." But, so I sat there and told Rob, I was like, "Look, I just told the guy to be silly, and, he took it too serious, So I made up with Rob at that time. But for months, Rob thought I was going to go crazy and take him up to the rooftop and toss him over the edge. Yeah, that story seems a lot more funny as it's happening, but it may not be funny now in the wake of 30 years of badness at office places. Another question was, have I created a character I'd like to see printed? Most of the characters I create, like I have a deal with Antarctic Press since like '98. Is like if I ever want to draw a story, they'll publish it. Like I don't even have to ask. We'll just add it to the schedule as soon as it's finished, And so like a couple of years ago, I did the Airship Enterprise. I just like did a steampunk Star Trek, and I've done some steampunk like Star Wars type things. But I did the Airship Enterprise, and I did it as a Kickstarter, and there's still some rewards I need to send out. And as soon as I do that, I'll be able to start focusing more on doing new work. But that project really killed like either creativity in me or packing stuff, because I hand wrote all these letters to all the backers, which hundreds of them, and I packed all the packages and all that stuff. But I totally see now that I need an extra set of hands, because like my hands were totally destroyed after all the packing and double wrapping everything, and like I bubble wrapped everything. But I need to get those people. I think there's a few more rewards I just need to send out, but they all got their book, and that was the main thing. But after that, it's like everything I can come up with or write a story for. I'm just like, the only thing stopping that from seeing print is me not doing the work. And I've been trying to focus on that, like within this last year, is just gearing up for new stuff, like what I want to spend like my twilight years in the comic industry, doing. So,
Oh, you better not be talking about twilight years right now.
yeah, that's me. I'm like, I'm 51 and a half, right? So it's like, okay, well, if I only have a few more years of drawing.
We're not talking about twilight years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I start measuring everything in time, and it's like, oh, well, if I did Airship Enterprise, and that took 2 years to start it, a year to do it on Kickstarter and publish it, and then 2 years later, I'm still waiting to send packages out. I'm like, okay, well, that's 5 years of my life on one book. So now it's like, anything I do going forward is going to be more time restrictive, and I'm going to have to ask Antarctic Press to step up, and help me send items out where I can just focus on doing more stories and stuff. So it's like one of the guys. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
I tell you what, if you have trouble sending stuff out, just send it up to me, and I can get it shipped out for you. I've gotten really good at shipping recently.
Oh, great. Yeah, I may have to move my operation up there, but I'll just walk. I'll just draw something and walk it over and hand it to you. Like, send it out. Oh my God! I have one crazy story that this was just the greatest moment in my life in a way. I did a book a couple of years ago. It was like How the Trump Stole Christmas. Not getting political or anything, but it was like a silly, how the Grinch stole Christmas, but Trump-wise or whatever. So I did it, and we were going to have a regular cover, and we were going to have a variant cover, and they both, variant had its own price tag on the back, and the other cover had it on the main cover. So we sent it to the printer, which was in town, which is Brenner, which they kind of got their start working with Antarctic Press, making comics. But we did this one Trump book there so that, we could ship it out in time for Christmas or whatever. But they needed this cover file, so I sent the file to the guy at the office. The guy at the office sent it to them. They were reading it wrong, and it was some weird thing. So I was like, I have to go over to the printer just to make sure. And I went over there, and I was looking at the files on the guy's computer, and they had loaded an earlier file or something with the wrong price. So if this variant went to Diamond with the wrong price, we would have lost a lot of money off on that book, because they would have had to honor the price that's on the book, something like that. So, but I saw it on the guy's computer. I was like, that is the wrong file, and he's like, well, this just started printing downstairs. So I ran out of his office. I ran down the stairs. I ran over to the guy at the print machine, and I was like, stop the presses, And he's like, stop. I was like, don't print that cover. It's the wrong cover, But he was just about to start printing the cover for it. But I mean, it was like seconds before I got to him, So I'm like, that is the greatest moment, Just yelling, stop the presses in a chamber with all these heavy printing machines going. So loud, but I was louder than the printing machine. I was like, stop the presses. And they were able to stop it.
It's because you read it so many times in comic books with Superman. Stop the presses!
Yeah, that's what I was like, holy crap. I'm like, Clark Kent running down there. Stop the presses, J. Jonah Jameson, stop the presses.
Yep. Okay, we got a next round of books coming up. We've got Death Metal Trinity Crisis 1. This is the 1 in 25 cover by Kyle Hotz. It's another artist that just puts an insane amount of detail in their artwork. We've got X-23, number 3.
I get a lot of requests.
New Wolverine.
I get a lot of requests to draw that character. She's pretty cool.
And we have a story exclusive on Power Rangers number 55, the final issue of Power Rangers that introduces the new Green Ranger. So this is a story exclusive. It comes with a certificate of authenticity, and it's numbered. Number 338 out of 500. Only 500 of these printed. We've got Defenders number 20.
I have a Power Ranger helmet right here.
All right. We've got Deadpool number 9. This is one of those absolutely crazy hidden covers, which is, I forgot who did these. But anyway, they just use covers from other things. So it's Rawhide Kid shooting up Deadpool.
That's really cool.
And then we have Darth Vader number 18. This is the Darth Vader Galactic, what are they called? Galactic Icons variant. So have you drawn much in of the Star Wars stuff, Brian? Do you have commissions that people ask for all the time?
I get them sometimes. I started drawing some Star Wars stuff in the 90s for the prequels. I was doing toy designs over in Hearst.
Got Thor number 304. And
You know, yeah, I was doing with Steve Irwin and Kerry Gamble over in Hearst, Texas, at this place called Promotional Partners. We were designing all the prequel Star Wars Happy Meal type toys. You know, for all the restaurant chains and stuff. That was fun. I did a Boba Fett card, or no, not Boba Fett, Dengar. When I worked at Extreme Studios, Topps was doing a bounty hunter set on these. Oh man, I have one right here. Let me see. It's a see-through card. I have it in a glass case, but I got to do Dengar, and Rob was supposed to do Boba Fett, but he didn't have time, so it got switched over to because most of the Extreme guys were supposed to do a card. I think I was the only one. The other cards got sent to Wildstorm, so J. Scott Campbell, I think, did the Boba Fett card. But because I did that Dengar card, I was invited to the Star Wars Celebration 2007 for their 30th anniversary of A New Hope. And so I got to do a limited edition print for that show, which I did of my children, like looking up at a screen, you know, so they're looking forward, and then from a projector behind them is like the Star Destroyer flying over their heads.
awesome.
But I was going to do like something with some Star Wars characters, but I was like, man, this whole show is going to be full of guys doing that. So I went for a shot that I didn't think anybody else would do, and I got selected for the event, and it was really cool. I had a lot of people come over and tell me what a cool shot that was, to honor that moment that everybody remembers that saw Star Wars in a theater, was that Star Destroyer continually flying over.
Yeah, the only thing I miss now is not getting the 20th Century Fox music. You know, before it starts.
Yeah, let's not hum it. We may have to pay. I'm sorry. Did you miss another cover up there? I didn't mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got one last one to put up there, and that's I don't know if you have anything in here or not, but the Homage Studios swimsuit special.
Yeah, no, I didn't do any of the homage stuff at the time. I was over at Extreme. We weren't allowed to integrate.
No cross-pollination.
Yeah, I guess that's another crazy story I have, where I actually went over to Wildstorm and got in trouble for visiting their offices. So I worked at Extreme, so I went to Comic-Con while I was there, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, let's go hang out with all the artists from Wildstorm," and I didn't know that was a no-no, but I got to go see the Wildstorm offices, which were amazing, and then yeah, that was a whole thing. You know, Scott Kurtz, he also got to go to the Wildstorm offices around that same time, and you know, he was a customer at your store over there.
Yeah.
And like my yeah, anyway, it was just cool that, we were both in the same building at the same time in a way, or around the same time.
So William wants both of the Defender comics. So I think it's crazy that even though Image was one company, there was so much. Each one of the studios was a silo that just wasn't allowed to work with one another.
Yeah, I was walking to the trash can the other day thinking about that. That's so funny you mentioned it, but I was like, what a missed opportunity that was. That if all the heads, if the founding fathers of Image came together at that time and worked together and had all the guys, not if they weren't trying to steal each other's talent, and if they had more pep talks and stuff about, because Rob Liefeld had a podcast the other day where he was talking about some of the guys that were at Image and some of the at Extreme and some of the guys that were at Wildstorm that were like, that were looking at their career more than they should have been, and in a way that was like, oh, we'll never attain this level of popularity because the Wizard, Wizard has a top 10 list, and it will always be the Image founders that are on the top 10 list, and none of the second wave of talent would ever be on the top 10, and that was really messing with guys' heads, more than it should have been, because it should have just been about the work and the comics, but the rising wave of talent becoming super successful was messing with their will to create. They're like, well, I can make more money if I went to Disney doing animation or whatever than I can in comics, because I'll never get recognition in comics. And like when I was at Extreme Studios, they had a thing where it was like there was a animation boom that was just starting, right? And so they had a recruiting opportunity like right down the street from us in Orange County one day, and some of the guys were like, let's go down there and try to get work in the animation industry. So they all went down there with portfolios. Some didn't even have portfolios. They could just talk about what they did, and they're like, oh, I ink comics and I do this and whatever. And Disney and Warner Brothers, everybody was there. So a bunch of these guys got hired to start working in animation, and they quickly went from, Rob paid probably better than anybody's ever been paid to work in comics, but Hollywood could pay more, So a lot of the guys went into the animation industry. They're still there today. They're the top level directors and chiefs in animation and stuff. But, and it was like, well, it was a thing of just Wizard not recognizing, the greater level of talent in the industry at the time or whatever, that led these guys to be like, I'll never get an award in comics working, in comics. I'll never get an award working for comics. I have to go outside of my industry,
Yeah, Wizard was a boon in some ways and such a detriment in some ways too.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I was working at Top Cow for a short time. I had hand surgery in the late 90s. They were like, we're gonna cut off a couple of your fingers. Like I had a little tiny tumor on my pinky, and they're like, they were searching my arm. They're like, oh, you may lose like a lot of your hands, and I was like, well, at least leave me enough to hold a pencil, And so I went into surgery. I was joking about it, but I went into surgery, and when I woke up off the morphine, like just freaking the hell out, right? I was like, I held my hand up because I didn't even think I would have any fingers left, But luckily, everything was fine. So Top Cow offered me an opportunity just to go. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and they were like, just come to our office, just hang out in the bullpen, just work or draw when, just get your strength back in your hand. So it was hard to just hold a pencil. And so that was how I became part of like Top Cal. But I was working there at the time, and one of the Wizard editors came through telling one of our top editors, he's like, "Oh, we're going to put your guy on the, on the Wizard top 10 as soon as his book ships, And this is the guy's first book, it's like, why would you add this raw level, young talent to something like the top 10, which just messes with people's heads? Like if they move down one number, it's like some of those guys are like, oh my God, my career, it's gone. It's like just by moving from 7 to 8, it's like, why would you add somebody to that top 10 list and get them stuck in that mindset of, you're either on that list or you're nothing, and it just being a playbook where people are like, oh, we'll just do that to add 1,000 orders to your to your comics that month. It's like
it was definitely a pay for play type thing.
Yeah, and that part of my career at that point was just recognizing that was something I did not care about. I didn't need to be more recognized than what I appreciated. If I could appreciate my art, I was fine with that. I didn't need outside forces controlling how I felt about myself. I hated myself constantly. So like, I didn't need somebody saying, "Oh, this month you're good, last month you sucked," so that's where I was like, I'm just going to control my own stuff, or work on my own books and not worry about any of that outside stuff. Because after I left Top Cal, I went to Antarctic Press and was working there. And like a guy that was sitting next to me was working on Gold Digger, right? And he was on issue 50 at the time. And now he's like, he's on 280, 282 just came out, I think. And, we started at the same time. We were both the Marines or whatever, and he just was like, I have a task to perform, and I'm not going to stop until it's done, which was producing more issues of Gold Digger, and I would sometimes let that get in my head where it's like, oh, I gotta get a Marvel book so that my next thing I do on my own sells, 1,000 copies extra, and it's like, that's why I would jump around from company to company and, try to chase the dream or the status, but I realized I don't need that. And I'll just do my own thing and work on my own terms,
Yeah. And Fred does every single thing on Gold Digger.
Yeah. And, for a time, like Antarctic Press was suffering just as the ebbs and flows of the industry or whatever. And like for a long time, like Antarctic was maybe producing 4 books a month, and just because the other guys had moved on to Marvel and DC or they were doing their own career stuff. There was a time where Ben left Antarctic and it was just controlled by his brother. But the only consistent thing was Gold Digger month in, month out. And sometimes it was like, oh crap, we don't have enough incoming money to, pay the rent or, keep the lights on or whatever. So Fred would just be, he'll just come up with another idea that would benefit Antarctic Press to kind of keep it going, And he doesn't get a lot of recognition for that either. But I mean, we all love him to death, and he's loyal to us. We're loyal to him, and part of my, I feel part of my responsibility is keeping Antarctic Press afloat long enough to get Fred to Gold Digger 300. Like it's because he's produced so much over the years that been Antarctic more than him. And it's like, well, we need to pay that back, although that's not a consideration for him, but it's like, anything we can take off of his shoulders, because he stressed that, is Antarctic Press going to be around in, a couple of years? Is Antarctic Press, which are his friends, going to survive? And so we all try to, do as much as we can so we're not a burden to his thinking, so he can just continually produce Gold Digger, until he doesn't want to anymore.
When he hits 300, that will be truly. I know that McFarlane did his thing with issue 300 on Spawn, but the difference is that so many other people wrote and drew Spawn And even Cerebus hit 300 issues, but Dave Sim always had Gerhard drawing all the backgrounds and everything else. When Fred hits 300, nobody else has ever penciled, inked, written, or lettered that book, have they?
Right. Yeah, there's nobody. And I mean, there may be somebody out there, either in the Japanese industry or the Philippines or something, that did it locally that we don't know about. But in the American comic industry, like, nobody's done that. And I've been doing research trying to find like all the basically awards that Fred could achieve. Like 300 issues of writer, artist, inker, letterer, colorist. Like although he hasn't colored all 300. And the first 50 were in black and white, and those are being colored by another team to try to have all 300 issues in color. So that's not a consideration for him that he's also the colorist, but he has colored the last, 150 issues by himself, probably more. But he's also like, he could get the Guinness World Record for like most comic book characters, named characters created, which Stan Lee is the person that holds the record right now. But his character count is only like a couple hundred, I think, like Stan Lee's, and but Fred's like in the thousands already, of named characters he's created over the last 30 years of his career, which you think of some of those guys, like even Jack Kirby, he worked on tons of books, right? But it's like, well, how many characters were introduced that had a name, in a certain issue that he created by himself or whatever. But Fred isn't even worried about awards or anything like that, or recognition, because he's just like, I'll do the work and I'll die, and if somebody recognizes me after that, that's great, But that's not a consideration for him to produce more and more issues of Gold Digger,
So does he have a definite end in mind?
Yeah, for the last 30 issues, he's working down. So, like, he's built everything up, and now he's just any loose story thread he's trying to resolve before he hits issue 300. And then at 300, he's going to decide if he wants to continue. Some of the consideration was to stop at 300 so as not to break Dave Sim's record, to honor Dave Sim by stopping at 300, Another consideration was just to keep going until he doesn't want to do it anymore. But at this point, we're like, well, now you have to just beat McFarlane, like Spawn just to beat Spawn, like you have to do one more issue than Spawn. But although even the Spawn Guinness record was for most superhero books, by a creator or something. So Fred wouldn't even get that award because that's specifically for superheroes, and Gold Digger isn't superhero stuff. So
right.
They may honor all those guys by like Dave's, Cerebus is fantasy, Spawn is superhero, and Gold Digger is adventure, I guess, or manga. But he recognizes too that there's so many manga creators that have probably done this record already that we just don't even think about. But how long has some issue of some Japanese comic we've never heard of still going?
It's still pretty amazing what he's done, though.
Yeah, and he doesn't just do 20 pages a month. Like, he does 24 to 28 consistently. So it's like, even there's even more page count than you think, because like early Fantastic Four was 17 pages per issue or something like that. So even though Jack Kirby and Stan Lee did 110 or something, 9 issues together, it's like those were all 17 pages, over that length of time. And Fred's done like 28 per issue, 20 pages per issue. It's just crazy. But another thing that's crazy to me is like, he just sent in 282, and it's like, I remember buying Fantastic Four 200. It's like Fred has worked on like, imagine every issue of Fantastic Four by Jack Kirby, up until issue 281 through 282, like all by one guy. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But we love him to death. He's done, if you're interested in his work, he also did some other like standalone series like Steam Wars, like which you can now find on Indiegogo. We're raising money for a trade paperback and a hardcover for the first time, collecting his original.
Which is a great steampunk version of Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a review where it said like it did Jedi's better than Star Wars, like all the Star Wars movies. There's a I don't want to ruin anything, but there's a Jedi battle, or there's a Jedi battle in the Steam Wars where they're just staring at each other, but some dragoons, and so they're fighting in their minds in every quantum level of reality where they're performing every single move of a fight, just staring at each other. And so when they move, it's the only move left to them that hasn't been worked out or whatever. So it's like you don't see this jumping big battle fight. You just see, it's like the ultimate. They both figured out the ultimate move, and that's the only move that's performed during their fight. It's so crazy.
Cool.
Comic.
I think we're going to call it for the night. It's after 9, so we normally end up at 9 o'clock. Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your art. Guys, thank you for staying around, listening. Brian, I always enjoy your stories. Hopefully we can do this again next week.
Thank you. Sorry for taking over the whole evening.
Oh,
it was fun talking to you.
Oh no, it was like I said, I love the stories, and I'm sure that the people did too. So
that's good.
It's kind of like a interview / sale. I kind of like that format. So
I'll get more entertaining the more we do.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody be safe out there. I can't tell anybody to go vote anymore. Just all I can do is tell everybody to be patient and let all of the votes that were cast be counted before we all get upset about what's happening. Be safe, wear your mask, and love one another. Take care of yourself, and if you can, take care of someone else. Y'all have a wonderful evening. We'll talk about that next time, Brian. Which you like better, Star Wars or Star Trek, and why?
I can give my answer right now.
Oh, I already know what your answer is, but we'll save it for next time.
Okay, I don't want to ruin anything. But,
All righty. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.